10-year-old Betty Lou Zukowski lived in Hampton County, Massachusetts in 1966 with her parents, Stanley and Mildred Zukowski. At approximately 6 p.m. on May 26th of 1966, Betty Lou left her family home on Front Street in Chicopee right after taking a phone call from someone she told her mom was one of her girlfriends. That would be the last time Betty Lou's family saw her alive. When she failed to return home, her parents called the Chicopee Police Department and reported their daughter missing. The police department put out an all-states alarm in an effort to find the young girl. Tragically, 4 days later on Memorial Day, May 30th of 1966, Betty Lou's beaten and mud-covered 4'7", 75-pound body was found just offshore by young boys fishing in the Westfield River in West Springfield. The area of the river where the body was discovered ran just next to Robinson State Park in Hampton County, Massachusetts. Following the discovery of Betty Lou's body, the West Springfield Police Department and the Chicopee Police Department opened a joint investigation, with both agencies assigning their entire detective bureaus to the case. During an autopsy, the Office of the Medical Examiner determined that Betty Lou had multiple blunt force injuries to her head, a skull fracture, and she drowned. The detectives interviewed family, friends, and classmates to determine who Betty Lou may have met up with at the time of her disappearance. Investigators believed Betty Lou knew the person who took her life, otherwise she would not have left her home after receiving the phone call. They theorized that she met up with this person and ended up in West Springfield after riding in a vehicle operated by someone she knew. Approximately a week after Betty Lou's body was recovered, investigators were able to develop a composite sketch from two witnesses, one of whom investigators believed to be the last person to have seen Betty Lou alive in the mid-evening hours of the night she went missing. The sketch resulted in numerous investigative tips, but authorities were unable to identify Betty Lou's assailant before the case went cold. Recently, the District Attorney's Unresolved Cases Unit picked up the case and learned that information from multiple sources was provided to the West Springfield Police Department in 1977 that linked Donald Mars to the crime. Additional interviews were conducted, culminating in the case being presented to a grand jury. The DA's office did not disclose what information linked Mars to the case or if any new physical evidence came to light prior to the case presented to the grand jury. Mars, who was 17 years old when Betty Lou's life was taken, appeared before a judge in Hampton County Superior Court on November 3rd of 2022 for his arraignment. He is currently being held without bond and is expected to appear in court again in May of 2023. Hampton District Attorney Anthony Gelini said in a statement, "Sadly, Betty Lou's parents are deceased and will not see Donald Mars answer for what we allege he did to their daughter. My office has been in contact with Betty Lou's extended family members, one of whom was a pallbearer at her funeral in 1966. While this investigation will not bring Betty Lou back to her family or grant her the opportunity to grow into a healthy adult that she and every child deserves, it is for them and for Betty Lou that we embark upon this journey of seeking justice. Mars has a long criminal history of doing horrible things to children. He is listed as a level 3 offender, meaning he is considered to have the highest risk of reoffending and poses a high degree of danger to the public." On May 22nd of 2019, deputies from the San Jacinto County Sheriff's Office in Texas were dispatched to a deeply wooded area of the Sam Houston National Forest after receiving a 911 call regarding a deceased adult female discovered there. The female was identified as 59-year-old Rhonda Richardson. She was a corrections officer with the Pulaski unit of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice at the time. Rhonda lived very close to the area where her body was found. She was found face down and she was scalped. San Jacinto County Sheriff's Office Sergeant Gary Sharpin said that a set of ATV tire track impressions were found next to the body. He also said it was strange for Rhonda to be in the woods because she was afraid of the woods, particularly snakes and other animals. Gary Sharpin was involved in creating a timeline of events leading up to her body being discovered. He said the day before, Rhonda's dogs had run off into the national forest. She then went around asking some of her neighbors to help her look for the dogs. One of the people that volunteered to help was her neighbor Robert Dale Clary. Several witnesses told investigators that Clary was the last person seen with Rhonda. Clary was also the person who found Rhonda's body, according to Sergeant Gary Sharpen. Instead of calling 911 to report finding his neighbor's body, Clary went and spoke with several family members about the discovery. He never even called 911. He didn't stop and call authorities. He didn't do anything, Sharpen said. I mean, just that alone was really odd and bizarre. In addition to not calling the police, Clary's behavior also included him returning to the area where he found Rhonda's body and taking several photographs and bringing his nephew to the body and telling him to call 911. Authorities believed Clary was responsible, but unfortunately lacked sufficient evidence for an arrest. Sharpen says in recent years, investigators were able to obtain new information. Cell phone technology placed Clary and Rhonda both on the trail where she was found when Rhonda's phone showed she stopped moving. An additional witness also came forward and provided critical information for investigators. Criminal District Attorney for San Jacinto County Todd Dillon said, "We happened across a witness in this case that we knew was out there, but we had never been able to identify or locate. We happened across this witness, and it really was just the last piece of the puzzle we needed to get a warrant." This all led to 65-year-old Robert Dale Clary being arrested in November of 2022 for taking Rhonda's life and dumping her body in the woods. Clary had reportedly been charged with one count of indecency with a child in 2007 and served time behind bars after being convicted on 3 separate driving while intoxicated charges. He is currently being held in the San Jacinto jail on a $750,000 bond. At about 10 p.m. on January 19th of 2013, someone called 911 about gunshots at the Crescent Landing apartment complex in Greenville County, South Carolina. Deputies found the body of 47-year-old Edward Goldsmith in the parking lot of the apartment complex on Whitehorse Road. Unfortunately for investigators, witnesses were not helpful and there wasn't much to go on, so the case went cold. Then in March of 2022, 2 brothers were arrested and charged with taking the life of Edward. The names are Blesius Dravius McKinney and Deontay John Mel McKinney. Greenville County Sheriff Hobart Lewis said the brothers lured Edward to the apartment complex because they felt that they were ripped off during a drug deal. Hobart Lewis said the advancement in technology helped solve this cold case. Utilizing the various technological advancements, our cold case unit was able to piece together critical evidence that, along with new witness testimony, allowed them to identify the McKinney brothers as the responsible parties. The brothers are currently in the Greenville County Detention Center and the Kershaw Prison, respectively. Greenville County Sheriff's Office currently has 92 cold cases. Lewis said the cold case unit has solved 6 cold cases since its inception in August of 2020.